In this video, we'll be covering how to install Sage 300 Trial 2016 version. The first thing we need to do is to install SQL Server Express, which we need to download. In order to do this, go to Google and search for SQL Express 2014 download. You'll get a number of responses, but be sure you choose one that's from Microsoft. When we click this, it'll take you to the Microsoft page. Click download, and you need to download two files. The first one is SQL Express 64 or 32-bit, and then the corresponding Management Studio. You don't need any of these SQL local databases, Express and tools, or anything else. When you click next, they'll download. This is a training video on how to install Sage 300 with SQL Express. So the first thing we need to do is get all of these products downloaded. Here I have the 2016 version of Sage 300. I have SQL Management Studio X64, 64-bit, and SQL Express 64-bit. Got my Windows Server 2012 R2 version. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to double click the SQL Express and we'll run through that installation. Give it a location to extract the files. It'll be just a moment while this happens. While we were waiting, I went ahead and extracted SQL Server Management Studio by clicking this file, and I also extracted the Sage 300 installation code. And after these extract, then they'll go ahead and run. This is the SQL Server Express. I'm going to select Installation and New SQL Server Standalone Installation. It'll take just a minute for this to run. And this is the screen we get. I'm going to accept the license terms, go to the next screen, then get a rule check. If there's anything wrong with the system, if there's anything that needs to be downloaded or updated, it will tell you. You want to go ahead and use Microsoft Update to check for updates. And then we'll come to this screen. We want to select all of these options. You can change the directories, but I'm just going to leave them as they are. If you don't have any instances installed, the system will default to SQL Express, which is fine. For now, you can leave these service accounts just like they are. And on this screen, you will need to make a change. You want to set up the server in mixed mode. You'll have to give it a password. I'm going to give it one that's easy for me to remember. And the current user will be added. We'll click Next. And everything will install. It'll also turn on any operating system features that are needed. And you can see we're about to finish up here. You might notice from the timestamp down here that it's taken a while. It can take a half hour, even longer, depending on your machine. And when everything's done, SQL Server will confirm for us that everything was actually loaded. And this is what you want to see. If you don't see this, then you have had some problem during installation that you'll need to address. Typically, it's something that's particular to your machine. This log file right here can be helpful if you're a technical sort of person to figure out where something went wrong. So that's step one, install SQL Server Express. Next thing we're going to do is install SQL Management Studio. And if you wait to run this, to click on this package that you downloaded until you're ready to install, it'll actually go ahead and run the installer for you. I closed the installer after I extracted it. And so I'm going to come in here and double click on the setup application and let that run. Now, this is exactly the same screen you saw before, so don't think you've done anything wrong when it comes up. You want to go ahead and click the same option. This time we're going to actually add features. You get the same rule check. Then you get the same installation check for setup files. All this will typically run automatically, so I'm just going to skip this. And then you'll get this screen, and it will show you have installed SQL Express. And we're going to pick Add Features down here. Really doesn't matter, but we'll pick it anyway. What we need are the client tools, but we can pick all of these. And again, you can change the directories if you want to, but there's no need to. And after some waiting and some rule checks, then you get a screen that shows you the installation progress. And when it's done, you'll get this screen. Notice that there is some elapsed time here and that everything installed. We'll click close. Go ahead and close this. And we can close this as well. Won't need this either. Now we're ready to actually install Sage 300. And you have this file, which is an ISO. You could do a couple of things. You can burn it to a DVD, or you can do what I'm going to do, and you can do this in all the current versions of Windows. And just right-click it and do Mount. And it's going to treat it like it was a DVD, mount it up, and open it. And then I'm going to click the auto run. And you can look at the pre-installation if you want to. I'm going to go ahead and install Sage 300. And we'll go ahead and click through next. Since I don't have a database installed, I'll go ahead and check yes. Accept the license agreement. I'm going to pick the country I'm installing in. And here we do need to enter a client ID and a company name. As you see, you've got to enter a client ID of 10 digits, and we'll do this. Contact, you can put whatever you want to. We'll go ahead and install the premium version. And now Sage 300 wants to know what we want to install. You notice multi-currency. I'm going to go ahead and install the web screens. I will not install the portal. We'll install the whole financial suite. Notice that this includes the general ledger, accounts payable, as well as some utility items. We'll also install the operations suite. Notice that there are some options here. I'm going to turn off Microsoft Project Integration since I don't have it installed. I'm not going to install Payment Processing or Sage Exchange. And I'm going to go ahead and, because we'll use this internally, I'm going to go ahead and install the integration, and then these are the language packs that are shown on the standard installation. There are some others if you're interested in those. It says IIS is not installed, so we're going to have to turn off the web screens. We will have another video in What's New in 2016 where we'll show the installation of the web screens, but for now we're going to just do the base install of the standard client interface. Go ahead and install FlashFlare. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on automatic updates. I'll get a message about needing to shut down SQL Server Express. And we'll go ahead and let it close SQL Server Express. When the installation finishes, you'll come to this screen. You'll see it's loaded temporary licenses with a 30-day trial. You do need to come over here under users and just select land pack. Notice that down here you've got some other options, but just pick the land pack. I would say put in account, double click a 5 serial number, and you'll get a temporary license for that as well. If you don't make the entry on the land pack screen, you will not be able to access the software. Okay, so once we've done that, if you want to review payroll, go ahead and install either US or Canadian payroll. Here I'm going to go ahead and install US payroll. Click next, sign my life away, go ahead and install the EFT, and once it's installed we can click finish. If you want to see the ACA reporting feature, you can look at that. There is a product that looks at the information in payroll and helps you with ACA reporting. There are also some additional products here that you can install. The EFT products for receivables and payables are here. We won't install those now. I'll go ahead and exit. Okay, now that we've installed the SQL Server, SQL Management Studio, and Sage 300 product, we need to finish the setup. So we're going to start out in SQL Server Management Studio. And if you want to here, I'm running Windows 10. You can always come over here and find the product that you want and right click it and pin it to the start menu. We're also going to need eventually the Sage 300 product, and we're going to need database load and database setup. Okay, so the first thing we're going to start with is SQL Server Management Studio. And if you install locally, it should come up and identify the local SQL Express. We'll just connect. And during the installation, one of the settings that we changed and didn't just click through and accept the default was to use mixed mode authentication. It's very important that we have that set. So I'm going to go ahead and right click on the server name up here at the top and go to properties. And then under properties, I'm going to go to security. And you should have SQL Server and Windows, the second button here, chosen. If you don't, go ahead and choose this. Once you've chosen this and said OK, then you'll need to come down here to security and logins, and you'll need to right click on SA and go to properties, and assign a password to the SA. If you select this properly in setup, it will prompt you for a password, and you will already have set this. If you recall, when I set this a little earlier in the video, my comment was I said it's something that was easy to remember. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and create a new login, and I'm going to make it easy to remember and set it up for SQL Server Authentication. And then you need to turn all of these off so that it won't prompt you to change the password. And we'll say OK. And now we're going to come up here and we're going to create a new database. Sage 300 uses two databases. It uses two types of databases. It uses a system database which can have one or more companies. So we'll have one system database for every set of companies that uses those system settings. And companies in a system database can share things like rate tables for multi-currency and such as that. So I'm going to create SAMSYS. It's my system. I'm going to leave all these defaults exactly like they are and just hit OK. And then I'm going to create another new database and call it SAM Inc. and say OK. Now that the databases are created, I'm going to open the database. I'm going to go down to security and users, and I'm going to add the user that I created. This is a SQL user with a login. Username Sage 300, and I don't have a default schema. I'm going to go to own schemas and I'm going to set this to DBO. Membership, I'm going to set it to DB owner. Don't need to do anything with securables or extended properties. And I'm going to say OK. Then I can close this, open this. DB owner, and OK. Now there is another way to do this security. I'll just mention it for people that know more about SQL Server Management Studio. I can go to the security logins and go to properties. I have public server role, but on the user mapping, you'll notice that I'm set in SAM Inc. and SAMSYS as a DB owner and public. And you can actually do these settings here. If you do multiple databases at one time, it's going to be a lot quicker to do them here. Just right-click the username and go to Properties. And this is the user through which Sage 300 is going to access the database. We'll make a note here of the database name, SQL Express. And now we're going to go back over here and run database setup. The password for these is very clever. It's admin, same as the user ID. And we're going to create a new database, SAMSYS. It's a system database. It won't let me do a company database because I have to have a system database in order to create one. And let's try. One thing I should tell you here, if you did have to go back and change the login mode to include SQL logins, you'll need to restart SQL Server at that point. And you can do that by just clicking here and doing a right click and going to restart. You'll get an error when you try to log in here if you've made the change. I'm not going to enable application security, although you can. And we'll create another one, SAM Inc. using the system database. And normally where I'm putting localhost, this would be the name of the SQL server. Localhost just works with the local machine. Make sure you put the SAM Inc. database here, that you get the correct database name. And now we have two databases set up. Okay, so now we've got the databases set up and we want to load the sample data. And again, this password is admin. And the directory we want to set here is the directory that we used to load the Sage product. And then there's a SAM data. This has got all the sample data in it. We'll say OK. And we'll see we've got 3 companies. This is the system company. And you can load either this one or this one. This one, the limited company, has multi-currency turned on, a couple other things. So I usually load SAM Inc. So we're going to load SAM Sys. We're going to load it into the system database. Then we're going to come back and load SAM Inc. And we're going to load it into the incorporated database. You can load SAM Limited into SAM Inc. if you want to. The SAM Inc. is just a database name. And then when we hit finish, the data is actually being loaded and the tables are being created. Once this is done, you'll just come back to a clean load screen and you can press cancel. And at this point, the Sage 300 product should be ready to run. Again, because security is not turned on, I don't get a password screen or a password field. Notice that we get a message about a tax update that needs to be installed. And you will get a message that says the applications are not registered. You can continue to use them for as many days as are here, and we cannot give you an extension after the 30 days is up without installing. What you can do is install it on another machine. I hope that's helped you get everything up and running. That's the way you install the Sage 300 trial. At Data Guidance Group, we have been implementing Sage 300 for over 25 years. We can provide assistance at the address on the screen. Please do provide us with your company name, corporate email address, and telephone number when you contact us for assistance.